Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody! I know you saw in the title, excited fan favorite, Jeff Thill is back. Join the Patreon, folks. I'm going to start posting more Patreon episodes, and you can learn tarot and do live readings within a safe place with fun people. Whole bunch of stuff. You know my spiel. But Jeff Thill is here. Jeff, let me tell you something. First of all, how are you?
Really good. Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it.
Good. Listen, if you're feeling good about yourself and you're like, I look good. I look good. I've been working out. I'm happy. Taking care of my skin. If you feel like that, stay home. Don't go out. I had to get professional 8x10s done or a photo shoot. I never really know what I need because, you need them for your website stuff. The guy was the greatest photographer and he was like, look how good you look. And I was like, holy crap.
Right.
I didn't know it had gotten that bad. I thought it was okay. Oh my God. Just stay home if you feel good. Turn off the lights.
I'll tell you, Karen, one of the greatest blessings is when your eyesight starts to go, because my eyesight is at a point where, I can see, but I have what I would call a soft lens on my eyes at this point, right? So when I look in the mirror, man, I'm like, hey, not bad, buddy. Good job, sir. And then somebody either takes a picture of me, God forbid, or I actually turn on the bathroom lights, those horrible incandescent lights, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, holy moly, what happened?
I know. I was just feeling good, and then someone's like, "Well, the lighting wasn't right." Well, when I can't walk around with the lighting being right all the time.
That's right. That's right. That's what you want is a conditional attractiveness where if everything is perfect, you know what? If we're going to go on a date, let's do it right around dusk and let's do it under this tree right here. And I'm just going to stand. I know it sounds weird. I'm going to stand at this angle. Now look at me. Okay, now go away. That was a good first date. Goodbye.
Yes, exactly. That's like when people see supermodels and they're like, or pictures of them, they're like, well, they don't really look like that. And it's like, well, they kind of do. They don't look like this.
That's that is absolutely disingenuous and bullshit. They absolutely look like that.
They do.
100%.
Maybe not as perfect, but yeah, they look like that. That's why they're in the photo and I am not. One of the greatest moments, and then I found out she didn't want it to happen. I've never been like a Cindy Crawford hater or liker. She's kind of like a neutral. She was just there all the time for many years. And then a picture came out and she had all her stretch marks from having her 2 kids. And it kind of came out and everybody was like, that was brave and that was good. And I was like, you know what? I like that she did that. I was like, I bet that makes millions of women feel good about themselves. And then you found out she did not okay that. That was not supposed to go out like that.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, we're all the same. But anyway.
Well, it's Karen, I was going to say, one of the things that I was talking to you about was this weird ability that I guess we all have where we can have psychic moments. But just before you told the Cindy Crawford story, and I know it's easy for me to say this because it's after the fact, but when we were just talking about how supermodels do look really good in real life, I was about to tell you my friend Cindy Crawford's story, which is basically a very short story, but all it was he was in a bar somewhere near the beach in Malibu. And all of a sudden there's kind of a hush in the room and he can just feel every single guy in that bar looking in the same direction. And he said, Cindy Crawford, this is only about 3 or 4 years ago, mind you, walked in and she's just one of those people that is not only photogenic, but she's just so ridiculously naturally attractive that even if you didn't know it was Cindy Crawford, you'd be like, what?
Yep.
So it's just, there are certain people, God bless them, where they just hit the genetic jackpot, I guess. Yeah. But they look good at every angle, by God.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's, I mean, probably some of it's DNA, some of it might be
I
work.
don't
And if
know.
it's work,
I'm
I'm all for it.
I'm grasping at straws for a reason why that happens. I don't know what I'm doing. I
I
have
know.
no
And if
idea.
that's work, tell me your doctor. I'll go. That's,
Right? Thank you.
fix it.
I don't care where these stem cells came from. Stick them in.
I know. There's a picture of, Deborah Messing is a big
Oh yeah,
controversy
sure.
on TikTok right now. And there was a picture of her, and all these people going, "What happened to her face?" And I look at her, and she looks phenomenal for 55.
Yeah.
And
Well,
someone,
what is wrong with her? What happened? What's the controversy?
I think she stood up for Israel, so she had an
I see.
opinion,
Okay.
which you
Yeah.
can,
Opinion, right?
God bless you, have your opinion either way, unless it, you know what I mean? Like, we're just at that point now. That's ridiculous.
Yes.
That, and I'm not saying I have an opinion. I'm right out here. This podcast is not about Israel Palestine, but
Yeah.
she looked amazing. And this girl was like, "What happened to her face?" And everybody was like, "That's what happened once they take Ozempic and blah blah," and all these excuses. And then someone my age was like, "Oh my God, you young people don't know what 55 looks like. You think she looks 65? She looks great." And then they got mad because this woman said young people. But I really think they haven't really seen anything without Photoshop.
Well, and especially with celebrities, an image of them that you remember gets permanently imprinted in your brain, and then time goes on, and if that celebrity hasn't been in the news much or whatever, you're suddenly shocked that 15 years have passed, since the TV show she was on, or 20 years at this point, and in your brain, it's just it's like when you see a kid that you only knew as a little kid, and then all of a sudden they're 24 years old, and you're like, oh my God, what happened?
Right.
But I just think that people, especially with celebrities, they permanently affix the image in their mind as to how that person should look. And, they're not seeing the long-term day by day exposure to time and the ravages of living.
Right. And, Julia Roberts has not done anything, and it's apparent, but it's okay. She's still Julia Roberts. But holy cow, do people jump on the bandwagon because she hasn't had work done. She even said something about how mean the comments were when she just posted a picture of her. And then on the other hand, if you're a Renee Zellweger or somebody and you fix it, now you're a bad person too. It's just ridiculous.
Well, Karen, is it possible that there's a psychological phenomenon known as projecting?
Yes.
where people are basically just revealing their own insecurities onto somebody else. I mean, once you take that class in psychology, and nowadays go to the Google and you learn basic Psych 101, one of the most common thing that people do is project. And so anytime they're throwing shade or have negative comments, all you got to do is look back on the source, and there it is. There's the insecurity or the fear or the whatever. They're just avenged sevenfolding their own insecurities. There you go.
Yes, I like to turn my own insecurities in on myself, and then they're double powerful.
Right. Good for you. Good for you.
I just was listening to something, and they were saying, I can't remember what it was. Oh, someone was analyzing that as above, so below was actually wrong or changed. And she went through this whole thing. And then when she was done explaining what it really meant, I was like, well, that's the same thing as we thought it meant before you corrected us. But he was saying your weakness is your strength. And I was thinking about that. And I was like, well, insecurity and comedy, kind of bagging on yourself works, but that's an interesting. I mean, I get
my strength is eating chocolate at midnight.
I know
that's my strength. I'm trying to figure out how that's a strength. Okay, let me meditate on that for a second.
Yes, give it a minute. Well, I was thinking, somebody that maybe grows up in domestic violence and then grows up to be a person that stops domestic violence. Maybe that's what she means, or something like that. But I
like how you have to figure out nice ways to stitch together what she said.
Well, it sounds like a superhero thing, right? Like his weakness, but
it does.
His strongest point.
It does. It does sound like that. Although I doubt that's what that is. It's also possible she's just horrifically mistaken. but somehow thought it would be interesting to other people. And I just want to give you a quick shout out that I love that you are you're only hard on yourself instead of projecting it. I love that because it's like you're jumping on a psychic hand grenade. You're basically the person that everyone get back. I'm about to say something terrible. Let me jump on this. Let me own this. Everyone, get back.
I know that's my version of being a better person, turning it on myself. But I was like, man, I'm getting ready for my summer on the road. I'm excited, new pictures, new website. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to become a shaman and live in a mountain with a goat after the pictures. But I'm sure.
But you think that's a bad thing? Like, I don't know, Karen. That sounds pretty damn good.
Doesn't it? What is wrong with the
don't
planet?
know. You're saying that like it's a bad thing. I don't know, man. That's pretty freaking awesome.
Right. Well, I think I was kind of figuring out, and I don't want to make this about me because we got so much to talk about with you and your podcast, but this sort of escape where I'm just driving around. I think I have the first 2 months sort of sketched out, which is pretty good. And then I'll come back and forth and see my mom because she's in memory care. But I was kind of like, what? Why do you think that it's going to be so much better? Like, what's the freedom in that? And I'm not really sure, but I know I'm looking forward to it. And some of it, like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, but if I get a nice little SUV and sleep at campsites, I'm going to try that, at least try it once. But then
that sounds awesome.
Doesn't it? But then I think, flies and mosquitoes. So I got to figure out that. Right.
Well, they're always there.
Yes.
I mean, that's, it's, they're always there. That's for sure.
Yeah,
but I don't know. That sounds pretty fun. I'm always a big fan of being in my car and kind of like creating my own little bubble of awareness, so to speak. I can be super introspective or whatever, or introspective. I guess the word self doesn't belong before the word introspective because it's implied. But here, let me correct myself. But anyway, I love being inside my car, and I think that car camping, it just sounds freaking really fun because you're in your own world, and you can just kind of do your own thing. And how many times, Karen, have you been driving and you're talking to yourself, you're practicing something, you're going over comedy, you're doing something ridiculous, and the people around you are just like, if they dare to look over at you, are thinking, what the hell is wrong with this woman? What is going on over there?
I know. I was just driving in my curlers to my photo shoot. I thought, what,
In your curlers. Yeah. That's awesome.
Well, it is funny because when I get up in the morning, I really just would love to meditate and tune in and do a bunch of things. And then I'm like, well, the only yoga class is at 9:30. So you got to get up. And I thought maybe on the road, I'll give myself some grace with that. But the idea of it, maybe it gets old in 10 minutes, but the idea of just like sitting outside in the middle of the night in a campsite, not, maybe watching something on your internet, that would be fine. But kind of not being anywhere. I think that's what I need, is to not be anywhere. Doesn't that seem really sounds good, huh?
Well, because whenever I'm able to do that, whenever I'm able to kind of go inside my mind or have a quick moment of isolation, it's the closest I can think of to feeling like a kid again, because your outer shell kind of disappears a little bit, and then you can just kind of be, the kind of person that you were when you were really young, right? Where you just didn't give an F. You do not give an F about anything. I'm going to, damn it, I'm going to walk around in my Batman t-shirt with maybe no pants. And that's just how this day is going to go down, everybody. It's pretty freeing.
It is. And there's this, first of all, so just to get I know we're off on a weird topic, but I could talk to you about anything, anytime. And you're so smart and insightful. Are you an agnostic? That's how I always kind of pictured you.
I am.
Okay.
100%. Yeah, that's me.
And my dad was an agnostic, and he said the way he explained it was, if you show me, I'll believe you. Right? Like, it's not an atheist. It's not there is no God. It's that kind of like, I'm not sure. Right?
Yeah, for sure. But for me, I would take it a step further, which is I'm also not seeking proof. I'm not actively looking for an answer. For me, the answer, it sounds very cliche, but for me, the answer is already right in front of you. It's inside you. You are God. And I don't mean to sound blasphemous to folks who are Christian, or that sounds crazy, but really, to me, now this is just for me, the sad thing, oftentimes about organized religion is it tends to make the person feel bad about themselves in some way, shape, or form, that they're imperfect, that they're somehow flawed. And through hard work and perseverance, they can somehow make it to this thing or this place or this state. Whereas I say, I'm already there. We're all that. We're all made from the same stuff. And this is probably just very different than what we think reality is anyway. And I just am doing my best at all times to be in the moment and appreciative of myself and aware of others in a kind of a nice, good way. Isn't that what it's supposed to be?
That's it.
I don't know.
And I think that is God. And that, or you would get to the other side and God would be like, yeah, you did great.
Right?
Right?
Or, yeah, you're me. You were me the whole time. We were all us.
Right.
Yeah.
Because once you get into religion and rules, and I'm seeing it unfold now, and like, I'm all woo woo, and whatever is going on with the planet right now, which I do believe there is some sort of metamorphosis, or I don't believe in the end of the world, but I do believe in cycles. And the cycle right now, especially because of world politics, is it's going to get bad before it gets better. But it's so interesting to me. One of my on my predictions podcast, where I have all kinds of psychics, me and this other psychic talked about look out the born again Christian movement. Shannon at Black Boots for everybody. The celebrity Christian change. And she mentioned Kat Von D, completely true, went from tarot and makeup to now she's a born again Christian. But it turns out, Jeff, when you become a born again Christian, God tells you it's okay to save the money you made off of Satan. He doesn't want you to be uncomfortable. That's all fine. Keep that. And then Russell Brand, now my favorite grifter piece of crap in the universe. Now he's God, please forgive the women I raped for calling me out on it. He's there. And now Trump is selling Bibles. And I feel like there's this weird, like, maybe that's the patriarchy pulling back, but there's Christianity is going to be the new grift. And I know some people like it was the grift, but there's good Christians and good Christianity. But I feel like it's going to be the new, you're going to hell. This is how we're controlling people again. Does that make any sense?
Well, yeah, completely, because I've thought about that a lot. And anytime someone is passionately going on about their religion and what other people need to do, again, not to be repetitive here, but it's all projection. Mm-hmm. It's all the inner turmoil in their own lives that they are projecting outward. And it's their way of trying to make sense of the world. And so I used to just get a little annoyed by it. And then later in life, I just sort of like, I wouldn't say even tuned it out, but it just kind of goes through me, I guess. So I just think therapy is the best thing for that person. And you'll notice that the people that are the most passionate about it, the most vocal on the internet, are usually the ones that have somehow experienced a lot of psychological drama and trauma and damage. And so, again, it's just this coping mechanism where I don't know really what's happening in the world, and I'm scared, and I can't take control over my own life, and I've been a victim or whatever. So I need to somehow make sense of all of that. So I've created this story, and someone else believes that same story, and hey, together we're all believing this story, right? And that's just a natural human a coping mechanism. The scariest thing you could ever do is to just believe in yourself. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so frightening to people to just make a decision that day to do what's right for you and to do what's natural and normal and not worry about others and just be kind. God forbid we do that.
Jeff, you're so good. This is the cult of Jeff. That's what the cult I'm going to be. Can you imagine?
It'd be the worst cult ever, because my advice would be go away and do your own thing. Thank you.
Right? Well,
I would be the worst, most unprofitable cult on the planet. Nobody, you can't. I insist you don't follow me. If you follow me, You're doing it all wrong. Go away.
Well, that's so I'm gonna confess. I'm a little bit. I'm gonna take a break and then I'm gonna confess. Hold on, folks. We'll be right back. Not even close to the topic yet, Jeff. But it's great. Hold on. Okay, be right back.
Hi, I'm Becca. I'm an energy healer. In a session, I use intuition and conversation to help people remove blocks and allow healing of all kinds to happen. I help people with things like relationships, making sense of their awakening process, or beginning to heal a chronic illness. My favorite thing to do is help people remember who they are. I also do intuitive nutritional counseling, which combines my experience as a nutritional therapy practitioner with my intuition to help you heal your energy related to food. I do sessions over the phone or on Zoom. If you go to my website and feel a little buzz of resonance, I know a session will be beneficial. Check it out by going to regenerativelife.farm.com and click on the Energy Healing tab, because I'm also a regenerative farmer. That's regenerativelife.farm.com/energy-healing. Remember who you are.
Okay, so I'm becoming quite a bit of a Jesus freak and a Mary Magdalene freak, but not a Christian. I am not a Christian. And I feel like what you just said is probably exactly what Jesus was saying. And the statement I heard was Christianity creates followers and Jesus created leaders. And I just think that's like when I read the words of Jesus, they're like a really good speech like you just gave. There's no like tell your neighbor to stop doing that. If everybody, like, I feel like religion is about if everyone would just get in line and do the right thing, do what I tell them, which is the right thing, then we'd all be fine. But I feel like that, like, literally what you just said is kind of what Jesus would say or is saying. And I feel like right now there's so much backlash in every way. Like, Jesus's real name was really, Yahshua, and God was really Yahweh. And then somebody else comes on, they go, it's the devil that told you God's name was Yahweh. It's like, it's insane. And I feel like I know you probably, that's not coming up on your TikTok if you're on TikTok, but I'm like, it's really getting crazy out there. And there's going to be, this is where war begins, I think, in civil war.
Yeah, no, I hear you. My TikTok is fish peacefully swimming in ponds. And rocket launches. Those are my two things. So I'm either underwater or I'm going into outer space. So those are my two jams. But when it comes to all those things you just said, again, projection, right?
Mm-hmm.
All the discussion over minutia and I'm right and you're right and this right and that right. It's all just people projecting insecurity again. And the thing that was a big turning point for me when it comes to religion was when I when I read a book called, interestingly enough, Jesus and the Lost Goddess.
Mm.
I recommend, Karen, if you ever get a chance, read through that, but it's not a Christianity book at all, like it sounds like. Jesus and the Lost Goddess is really the story of the Gnostics,
yes,
which was a huge religious sect that was systematically murdered by the Catholic Church and Christians, because their message was what I'm saying. Jesus is not a real person that lived. Everybody knew back in the day that it was an allegory. It was a way to get relatively simple-minded people to understand a message. And so Jesus is really just you. And it's when you don't die on the cross, you die to yourself, you die to your ego.
Right.
And then once you've died to your ego, heaven is actually right here on earth, because now you are all loving, all knowing, all accepting, and you realize that you are in fact God and we're all God. And so that is blasphemous, but it's only blasphemous to people that want to control other people, right? You can't have a bunch of autonomous people believing that everyone is equal and all is bliss. No, you've got to have people that feel like they need to go through the church in order to attain a reward that the church never has to make good on. So blah, blah, blah. But that's really kind of what I've adopted is that kind of amazing message, which is, hey man, chill out. It's all you. You're good.
I find Gnosticism very, very interesting, and sort of I did have somebody on my Patreon podcast talking about that, about how we almost got it backwards, that Jesus or Christ consciousness is what they would say, which is not,
Sure.
because also the idea of someone, which I'll take it as Christ consciousness, or I don't need to know if he was alive or these were exact words or whatever. I'm good with. I would like that book a lot. I feel like you're right. The church is just trying to control everyone, but I lost my place.
Well, I would say that a whole other aspect of that, though, Karen, is something that we were just sort of talking about, or at least hinting at, which is the shift in humanity from the feminine to masculine.
The opposite.
And
you mean
when I say
masculine to the feminine? The opposite?
The opposite. So back in the day, guys, way back, spirituality was guided by more traditionally, feminine symbolism and qualities and characteristics. Later on, it, I would say, de-evolved into sort of a patriarchy and sort of a male-dominated way of thinking. So it has a lot to do with emotion and insight and empathy and acceptance versus, the more masculine side of things, which, of course, is going to be more aggressive and exclusionary and, frankly, warlike and finger pointy. Finger pointy is what I'd like to say. So really kind of the downfall of humanity has been that shift. And it's not quite as simple as what you might be thinking if you're listening to this podcast. It's not quite as simple as men versus women. That's not
right.
We're very saying, but
we're very up on patriarchy, matriarchy, because there's a lot of women that are keeping the patriarchy alive too. And men, yeah, go ahead.
No, that's it. But that's a whole nother side of the book. And it goes through history, and it's really fascinating because it really ties specific events that are, documented in history, much more so than some of the things that the Bible, claims happened. But these are actual historical events that are milestones, kind of in human behavior, consciousness, and just where we've evolved, spiritually, basically. So, really great book. If you ever get a chance.
Right. I know. I remember where I was getting to. They actually say that there have been, even before Jesus or whenever, they're saying Jesus lived, that same story of the Son of God, death, resurrection has been told many times. That's not Jesus,
well, the same story. I was going to say the unfortunate thing for modern day Christianity and the story of Jesus is that story was already told by the Egyptians,
right?
Long before Jesus, and it's basically a savior came forth, and it was an immaculate conception, and he died, and on the third day he rose again, and he did this to save us from our sins. So, and it's not just the Jesus story as told in the Bible, but this has been told dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of times in multiple religions that are very different than Christianity, frankly, throughout time. And again, many of them long preceding the quote unquote historical birth of the Jesus that in the New Testament, right? So anyway, ouch. That
right.
sucks.
Right.
But,
well, that's,
it's all faith, right?
My friend says that the Greeks kept very clear records that he says there was absolutely a person named Jesus. I don't care either way. I think like I said, whatever the words are of this legend or person, I don't think you get in trouble if you get to, I think, be a good person. That's it. And then when it's all over, you did good. You know what I mean? I'm this reward punishment system is not, that's humans. But another thing that's interesting, he says, no, they've kept records and that happened. So that's interesting. I would have to dig into that, but also
I don't see the connection. Sorry. So I guess my point in all of that is that's great if there was a person named Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
and that person said that he was the Son of God, and that person was ultimately crucified.
Right.
Sure, that could have happened, but I guess the next leap is, and he was the Son of God, and this is what God wants for us, and this is what happens in the afterlife,
Right.
and so it's all these other connections and ands that are impossible to prove. It's 100% based on faith.
Yeah.
And I guess what a lot of people try to do is they try to use the Bible to prove the Bible, which makes no sense at all. My only response to that is there are a lot of historical references in comic books, but as far as I can tell, Superman isn't real.
Yes.
Right. So I don't know that connects for me logically, but whatever.
That's a great saying. They use the Bible to correct. And the other thing is the Bible's written all by men, and they took out the women's parts. And they also admitted that Mary Magdalene was not a prostitute, and we're still hearing that. I wanted to watch The Chosen, and in the first 10 minutes, someone refers to Mary Magdalene as a prostitute, and I was like, nope, all done. Thank you. You know what else is interesting?
Slut shaming doesn't have a time frame. I mean, that's been happening, right? It's been happening for a long time. Yeah.
And you know what else? I don't care if she was a prostitute, because I have friends that are prostitutes, and I don't think any less they're great people. They're some of my favorite people, but but the way they were doing it was not to say, hey, I know a prostitute that's a great person. It was a way to say, hey, you see that lady over there? Let's knock her down a few pegs. But I was shocked that was the first thing I saw on The Chosen, which they say is very good. But also there's a little known, I've said it a few times on this podcast, so maybe it's known to my people, but before 500 CE, any picture or depiction of Jesus, he was carrying a magic wand. So I think there may have been this pagan person, because that's what he sounds like with his words. Take care of yourself. But anyways,
interesting. Yeah.
I still love that they use the Bible as proof of the Bible.
Well, yeah, it's always in the Bible. It says this, therefore it must be true. And it's like, well, you know, documenting things that happen in history don't make the other stuff that's in the book true, right? So and by the way, even if it is true, there has to be a whole bunch of other things we have to take on faith, right? You can't the heaven and the hell and if you do this, then this, and all that and the other.
Right.
That's a pretty big leap of faith, literally.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think when I listen to people that have real near-death experiences, it seems that very different from what the Bible tells us, or religion, or whatever. I don't know. It's a very interesting time to live in, but watch that I'm going to call it faux Christianity, or I think it has a lot to do also with all these celebrities getting in trouble, and the other ones are like, but God forgave me. So now I'm a born again Christian and you have to forgive me. Or I found this new audience over here that'll listen to me. That's kind of what it's like.
Well, I always love those loopholes. The loopholes are always great to me because it really goes back to the fallibility of human nature when you're inventing a religion to begin with, which is, and oh, by the way, if I want to do all these horrific things and live a quote unquote unchristian life, as long as at the last second, right before I die, I repent and accept Christ as my savior, then it's a get out of jail free card. And boy, the relief, Karen, the relief when that was announced. I can't even tell you how many people were like, hey, this Christianity thing ain't so bad. All right.
Yeah,
and,
George W. Bush.
If you were doing horrible things, they could just say, I'm in progress here. Don't trust me. Before I die, I swear I'll repent. So what you're seeing right now, this is just me being bad. But later on, I'm going to repent. You'll see. It's almost like the Mormons, where it's like, and he also said that I can sleep with as many wives as I want to. That's in here also, by the way, that I can do that. Now, I know that may sound a little suspicious, but no, that's what it says. That's what I was told. I get to have sex with anybody I want to. Yay.
Yeah.
Mormons.
Good. It worked out. It works out very well for the men almost all the time.
Doesn't it seem like it does?
It does. Yes.
Weird.
I heard someone saying the reason women take men's last name is because they did that. They started that because then they knew whose property she was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, well, there. It's funny because I saw someone, this is probably not, half a dozen of one, six of another, same thing. But I saw a guy interviewing a Muslim woman, and it was a gotcha, right? Yeah, gotcha. I proved it to you. I gotcha. There's a lot of that. And there's a lot of on
Mm-hmm.
YouTube. Wait till you see how shocked they were when he said that. So the interviewer was a Christian and said to the Muslim woman, so in Islam, you have to repent for your sins and you have to make amends and then you're forgiven, right? And she said, yes. And he goes, ha ha, Christianity, we just are forgiven. And I was like, I think I just became a Muslim.
I guess I don't quite get the ha-ha part. But
right,
yeah.
like he was saying, ha, your God is making you pay penance for your mistakes, and mine is just letting me off. Like it was really like my God is better.
It's almost like they're both made up. But okay,
right. But I would, the idea of karma, or if you do something wrong, you apologize and you make amends. I could go with that. That sounds like just how a person should be. And he was like, no, my God's better than yours because he's not even going to make me say I'm sorry. And I was like,
right. But
okay.
I think the guy's on the right track. Your version of God. And I get it, man. It's like a fantasy football team, right?
Yeah.
He put together the players that he wanted for his team, and he's very excited. And those players are based on some people that are in reality, but the team is imaginary.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change this guy's mind. Oh man, it's real. Also, professional wrestling, super real, you guys. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, it's hard for me to keep a straight face when I see people arguing about something that they made up to begin with.
Yeah.
But okay.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it. I'm a little, like I said, I'm a little more of a believer, but I respect and love the way you. I cannot argue your points because they're good points.
And again, my point isn't that there isn't a God. There might be a God,
right?
But I certainly don't know the nature of it. I don't know what it is, and I guess I'm just willing to admit that. Whereas other people are convinced that other humans who wrote this down in a book, who claim that they spoke to God, are absolutely correct, even though you've never met them. I just learned recently, because this is me not paying attention when I was a acolyte in church as a kid, that the disciples, I don't know why I didn't realize this, never met Jesus, weren't around Jesus, hundreds of years after Jesus, lived in different parts of the world, and just heard these stories handed off like that game, telephone, where one person says it and then hands it off to the next person and they say it. By the time you get to the end, it's all messed up. So, and yet as a kid going to church on Sundays, the disciples, oh my God, the disciples said it. Wow. The disciple.
Wait, but what about the Last Supper? Just a painting?
Well, the apostles are different than the disciples.
Got it. Okay,
right?
Got it. Okay.
But still, in my naive head, I thought, well, the disciples, if they said it, and it's like, dude, they're the worst sources you could ever imagine. It's not in a murder trial. They wouldn't even be brought into court you couldn't even listen to their evidence in court. That's how bad it is. Yes. So these guys had nothing to do with the alleged, life of Christ. Again, never knew him, didn't live in the same area, wasn't even around during the same century.
So we could be disciples, you and me.
You could be whatever you want.
I'll tell you what I heard.
And then you and I can have a battle on whose religion is better.
That's right. Yeah. I it's funny because I don't know, but I do believe in, obviously everybody knows, I believe in negative entities and negative hauntings and demons. And there's a lot of other people that are like, there are no demons. And somebody said to me, there's no proof. And I was like, prove there's a God. And we can't prove either. I can tell you what I've seen and what you can tell me what you've seen, but it's a bad place to take a hard stance and get mad. Just be like, okay, like, yeah, all right. That's good enough for me. Jeff Thill is being a good person. That's good enough for me.
Well, I think that, I guess I just, I almost treat it scientifically, which is only this. It's not so much that I have to have proof. It's just that I don't accept testimony from human beings who weren't actually there as anything. And by the way, the Bible, at least the Christian Bible, has been rewritten many times.
What, taking the women out of it?
Lots of the eyewitnesses' accounts were literally thrown out. Some person who was not God got to pick and choose what made it into the Bible. Then don't even start me on the King James Version, which is now a whole new political slant is put on it. So it's so far removed from anything that ever happened that I think Old Testament, we can throw that out, because in that one you can murder everybody and own a slave. But in the New Testament, which apparently is like, I don't know, Ghostbusters Part 2 or something. It's just well, anyway, it's that's a bad example. Whatever movie was better on the second episode. But even that one, it's like, which one do I believe now? I'm super confused. Right. The old God was super mean and murdered babies and children and flooded everybody because of what now? And now the new one doesn't judge anyone and everything's great, and forget all that stuff we said before. Yeah. Sorry, man, you're losing me.
I think that was I think it was Eric Schwandt used to say that, where he used to say,
wow, I'm in good company.
He says, he'd say, I think it was a play that came through, and after the Old Testament, people were like, that was really heavy. I don't think, you got to lighten that up a little bit. And then the second version was a little better, a little more. Everybody felt better after the second version.
That's right.
You're a little heavy-handed in the First Testament.
That's right. Oh, Schwan.
But, you know, this is why, and this is a good place for a break. Oh, my God, I could talk to you forever. Okay, hold on, folks. We'll be right back.
Discover Moon Mama Shop, an inspiring metaphysical enterprise rooted in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Founded by Kenzie, a gifted 5'1" projector in human design, this burgeoning business is a testament to her innate ability to read people. Specializing in Reiki, tarot, and oracle readings, Kenzie brings profound insight and healing to her clients. Certified in Holy Fire Reiki 1 and 2, Kenzie is on her journey towards mastering this transformative practice. Whether you're in Grand Rapids or beyond, experience the soothing energy of her home studio for in-person sessions, or opt for virtual sessions for the same immersive experience from the comfort of your own home. Kenzie's approach is deeply trauma-informed, drawing from her own healing journey to create a safe space for others to release energy blockages and realign their chakras. Each session includes a personalized written report detailing her findings and intuitive messages received. For those seeking guidance through tarot or oracle readings, Kenzie offers convenient email consultations, allowing you to revisit the messages over time. Explore her offerings and pricing at moonmamashop.com and stay connected on Instagram and TikTok at moonmamashop.
Okay, this is why I really, though, your UFO work, and even when you and I talk sort of conspiracy, and I'm going to put that in quotes because, you know, what really happened, I don't know that conspiracy used to be a dirty word. I think it's right now, it's beyond coming true. It's
right. Yeah.
Right. And you know, it's
sure.
Just the other day, and a lot of people think this, that Kate Midland, the whoever princess, whatever her name is, that she's a clone. And my brain goes, there's no clones. And then I go, oh, wait, just wait. Maybe we'll see if there's clones. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is that place where but your brain immediately goes, oh, no, that's not true. And then you got to go, well, I don't know. All these creepy people and the Jeffrey Epsteins and the, you know,
sure.
It's all just, but your work with UFOs, my friend Tommy just joined MUFA. The UFO, he went to the UFO.
Mutual UFO network. Yeah.
And he said he was amazed at how much physics it was. He was like, there was a lot more math than I was expecting. But that's why I really feel like when you really realized there were aliens, or shall we say, it became more of a, I mean, I think you believe there are UFOs. It would be silly. I think it's silly for anyone to believe that we're alone in the universe. Correct?
Well, true. Because we now know that there aren't just millions of galaxies. We now know that there's more than billions into the trillions of galaxies. And if you don't understand what a galaxy is, try to imagine that Star Trek was real and there really was an Enterprise, and that thing can travel 1,100 times the speed of light when you get up towards warp 10. Okay. So traveling at 1,100 times the speed of light in that TV series, it was nearly impossible for anybody to ever really leave the known galaxy. The only reason they ever did in science fiction was because of some wormhole or something. But just to show you how vast a galaxy is, traveling at the speed of light, you're not going to leave the galaxy in a lifetime. No way. And that's just one galaxy with millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of stars and planets. Now try to extend that out to billions and billions and billions of other galaxies, and then tell me that on Earth, with zero information at your disposal, you're able to tell me that there's no life in the universe? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, it's literally like psychosis for someone to be that myopic. Now, that said, what I love about the UFOs and the aliens is that I just got done pontificating, or at least that's probably what it sounds like, about, hey, man, prove to me there's a God. And I have this very pragmatic approach. And then 2 seconds later, I'm telling you, but I believe in aliens, right?
That's
so
all right.
It sounds like absolutely the most hypocritical, and I can see people that are listening at home right now, literally with their arms folded, nodding up and down, going, yep, that's just what I was thinking.
No, not my crowd. But also,
my view,
I think there's more evidence of alien. Like, I think there's real evidence of aliens.
Weirdly, that's true. But my whole stance on it is only this. Yes, I do believe, just by the law of averages, that there has to be other advanced intelligent life out there. But I also was fascinated, really, at the end of the day, by the proof that I did receive that there is this mechanism in place that's been in place for 60 years to deal with this information and successfully bury it. And to me, that was what was fascinating, was that I was actually learning from vetted people who were really there, how this works. And so say what you will about aliens and UFOs, but man, there's a lot more to it than what people think. And I'm only going by what's been shown to me and proven to me. So,
and another thing about that is now it's very trendy to believe in this, but it was not. And you were talking about military people who are not ready to, I don't know how else to put it. They're not ready to just go out on a limb and say, there's aliens. They're the most cautious, usually, I think. Mm-hmm. That's why when someone says, even the police saw the UFO, the police have a little more credibility, we hope. Because that's a person that you think of as not flaky. But I mean, I agree with you. I once was talking to an astrologer, the stars and planets, not the horoscopes. And astronomer, astronomy teacher, whatever he is.
That's right.
And he was very, I had to push him for him to say, well, there could be something. And I was like, you're telling me and all of there's nothing but us? That's so egocentric. And now we have a lot of, shall we say, movement in what's going on in the alien world, don't we?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Well, it's just people now starting to realize what I was able to, interestingly enough, figure out back in 1999 by talking to all these government and military witnesses, which is that it's just like you would think, it's a mishmash of what's going on in our skies. In some cases, it is stuff that we can't identify that's definitely coming from somewhere else, whether that's from a different planet or even interdimensional, which would have sounded crazy 50 years ago, but that's actually a real thing, or it's our stuff. And the real slap in the face is that a lot of these things that maneuver in crazy ways and disappear and bleep out and bleep back in again and can do these ungodly speeds, that's also our technology that we've had for decades that we never admit to. And again, just to summarize this, the government that you and I know about, including the president, they're oftentimes not in the loop. This is super dark black projects. Money just shows up to fund them. It disappears from the General Accounting Office. Every year you're going to see a report that says that we are missing billions and billions of dollars from the general accounting office, and no one knows where it goes. And so that's how this has happened. And we've had stuff that's pretty mind blowing for decades that we never admit to. And a lot of the people that are in the top chains of command and executive branches, they don't know about it either.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, sounds impossible, but there you go.
No, well, to me, it doesn't sound impossible at all. In fact, that where they're saying things like the Simpsons are predicting things, or
that is interesting, by the way.
It is. Well, I think information is leaked to have, there's there's a very funny, well, you would think it's funny, but somebody said, and this is another theory, that if we all create our own reality, if we're living in a matrix and we all create our own reality, and they want us all to create a reality where Kate Middleton is a clone. You put it on The Simpsons, and then everyone is thinking that same thought. Like it's almost creating it, which is thought was an interesting theory. I don't know if I could go with that.
I like that. No, I get it. Yeah, that's interesting. I like that. Then that's a chicken and the egg thing. You're like, interesting.
Yes, yes. Because I do, there is a lot of talk now and actual facts that the CIA puts a lot of money into certain movies going out. And you don't make a movie about the military without the military giving you the okay of what information you can or cannot say. So it is kind of interesting that something might leak out like that. Or B, they've really gotten us ready. In fact, that last War of the Worlds with the Tom Cruise, where the aliens were coming kind of out from the Earth, I found that very interesting because that was one of the last theories I had heard before that, which, by the way, that was a great movie. Did you see that?
Yeah, no, for sure I did. Interesting. Yeah. And one of the things that shocked me when I was getting all of this, documentary footage from military and government personnel and things like that was USOs, not UFOs. So a USO is an unidentified submerged object. And so just as oftentimes as we see weird things in the sky, the Navy and other military personnel are picking up insane objects moving very quickly underwater and then going to and from the water, right? So I could go into a million stories about this, but anyway, there seems to be some kind of a connection to an underwater, base or bases, or the fact that extraterrestrials aren't always from somewhere else. They're actually here. And there's all kinds of great places where they can hide. And sometimes it's right in plain sight. So there you go.
Yeah, and if that's also us, I don't know if you saw all the whales that are killing themselves or attacking boats, or there's been a real change in sea life, and they think it's the sonar or the sound down there that we've sort of turned something on that's making them nuts. So they're literally either killing themselves or attacking ships like they never have before. So,
the Navy does tests all the time, and it ends up torturing, animals like that then beach themselves and freak out. So that happens quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we think it has to do with us recycling bottles for some reason.
People don't realize it, but if you were underwater when a submarine did what they call a sonar ping, if you were even close to that submarine, you would die. It would absolutely, destroy you from the inside out. That's how bad those sound waves are.
So that's like being in a microwave, right?
Well, yeah, it's just the sonic version of one. But I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing how deadly those sonar pings are to marine life.
It's no wonder I feel like we're going back to get a farm and grow your own food and can it and get a water source.
Growing your own food is definitely illegal. If you do it at a certain level, right? I mean, that's for sure. It's very, very strange how they will come down on you very hard. Mm-hmm. I don't mean people that have a little organic garden so they can have some cucumbers and and some cherry tomatoes for their salad, but I mean people that are actually trying to sustain, or God forbid, a communal neighborhood food source. Those are very frowned upon, and it's very interesting. I don't even know what the conspiracy is, but I do know that it's shocking how fast that's clamped down on.
Yeah.
Anytime there's a communal food supply. Yeah.
There's some sort of a bill in Vermont that my friend sent me that they're trying to pass that is like you can no longer build a home. You have to build a green home, whatever that means. And the only electric cars by this point. Like I feel like it's not that we are ruining the environment or the earth, but I don't know that it's we. I think they want you to think if you're not recycling your bottles, that then you're ruining the earth. And it's literally like 5 to 10 companies in the military.
Yeah.
That's really the whole thing. But anyways, before we get any further or I run out of battery, the reason you are here, Jeff, speaking of going back, tell everybody about your podcast.
Sure. So it's a podcast that I just started. We have a couple episodes. We're going to be posting one episode a week. And so I have a friend that I went to junior high school and high school with. He is an encyclopedia of remembering all the things from the 70s and 80s that we remember but have long since forgotten, like the names of stores and the weird things that we purchased and who was the guest star on Adam 12 or Love Boat. Yeah, right. Or I Dream of Jeannie. So I myself consider myself to be a pop culture encyclopedia when it comes to those 2 decades, but this guy makes me look like an idiot. And he's a very funny guy, Chris Alvarez. So we decided to reminisce on what it was like growing up in the 70s and 80s and being what they call, quote unquote, a Gen Xer, right? Where you would just disappear in the morning and your parents had no clue where you were. And you would do all kinds of gnarly things and oftentimes involving jumping your bike off of things, no seatbelts,
no helmets,
smoking a couple cigarettes, throwing firecrackers in someone's backyard, and then coming back home with all your fingers somehow. So it's fun. We get a kick out of it. He's got a great sense of humor, and it's called Nice Pull, NICE, and then the word pull, which is PULL. That's the little expression we came up with. Every time somebody can think of some obscure thought or memory from that decade, we call that a nice pull. And so again, check it out. It's on all the streaming platforms out there. We're having a lot of fun with it, though. It's been a kick.
Now, are you guys going? Probably not. This probably wouldn't be his thing. But are you thinking about doing a Mandela effect one?
Well, the Mandela effect, it would be interesting because we do talk about things that are happening now and then relate them to back then. So I could see where that would be a great thing to connect, right? Because that is the Mandela effect. This thing now used to be that thing then. So I think you got a gold mine there, Karen. We should definitely bring that up.
Yes, I would look at a few. The biggest one that I remember is Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. Do you remember that?
Stovetop stuffing, yeah. But what was the name?
It was Stouffer's, and I remember.
Stouffer's, yeah.
No, it wasn't. There was no Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. There's no such thing. Do you remember Ed McMahon delivering the big check from the Publishers Clearinghouse?
I don't necessarily. Now that's one where I don't know if I remember him personally delivering it, but he did, right?
No, apparently he didn't. But I remember him standing there with the check. There's so many from that period. There's one about Fruit Loops that I don't remember that I'd remember the difference with how Fruit Loops was spelled.
Right. I saw that one. I just saw one too about Fruit of the Loom underwear.
Never had the cornucopia. Yeah. But I bet there's a ton. The new one that's really weird to me is that, remember King Tut's crown just had a cobra on it? Now it's got 2 things on it.
Oh, okay. Now that I don't remember, but I do remember Steve Martin's song about that came out back in the day.
Yes.
King Tut. Yes. I don't remember, but no. That one eludes me.
The Egyptian stuff when I was a kid really was very interesting to me. But if you look now at a picture of King Tut's crown, you go, there wasn't 2 things on there. There's something added on. So I don't know, but that would be exactly a perfect, if you figure out Stouffer's stovetop stuffing. I remember that distinctly because we didn't have that in our house. We didn't have processed stuffing in our house. And it was delicious at my neighbor's house. So
yeah, well, and let's not forget the Berenstein Bears.
See, now I didn't know I don't know that story, but I know that's a big one, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was Berenstain Bears. And then later on, it seems to have somehow morphed into the Berenstain Bears, Stain. And well, it's just one of those things like all these Mandela effects where you just scratch your head and go, but I thought, but when I was a kid, it was, so very interesting. It would start to lend a little more credence towards this idea that, thought does create reality. And if there's enough thought in a certain reality that maybe we're shifting constantly through different realities, that's always possible. But I'll tell you, the day that I realized all bets are off when it comes to reality is the day that I read about, spooky action at a distance, which is a thing that's a phenomenon in quantum physics, where if you observe a photon, it will act very differently than if you don't observe it. And somehow the photon knows when you're observing it. Now, this sounds crazy, but it's repeatable 100% of the time. So think about that. The photon, the very thing that you rely on to get all of your information visually, is reacting to whether or not you're actually paying attention to it. Boom. Wow. I mean, right there, you should sit down and start to rethink everything that you know.
Okay.
So
that is a wonderful place, and my battery is just at 1%.
Perfect.
Jeff Thill, always a pleasure. Maybe come back on in October and talk about the photon.
I love it. I also have some other great little fun stories from the paranormal psychic realm that I'd love to share with you. We'll do that next time around.
Let's do it. Everyone, turn into his podcast. Jeff can talk about anything and be interesting all the time. Nice pull. And anything else, a website, any place else where people should go, Jeff?
No, that's it. If you like retro sci-fi kind of fun power punk pop music, I have a little band project called Sonic Descent, Descent. You can get that on all the streaming networks. But I just sing about spaceships and UFOs and kind of hark back to the 1980s. So if you're into that kind of thing, check out Sonic Descent. But thanks, Karen. It's always so fun to hang out with you. Thank you for letting me join.
Always a pleasure, Jeff. Hey, everybody. See you on the Patreon or see you next week. Thanks to Mike at Uno Rising Media. And thanks to Eric Schwant. Bye, everybody.
Paranormal Karen. She's a spooky kind of queen. Paranormal Karen.